much, Lynn. You are an absolute dynamo and an inspiration for me in this life, because we have so much wonderful potential in the Hudson Valley and in Goshen, and we are doing all we can to try to help you unleash that potential evermore. So the Chamber is a powerful force for good in that way. And I apologize for being a little late today. We, well, eerily reminiscent of what the district faced a year ago with Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee. Thank God, not nearly as bad, but we did have some lights out on our side of the river. And I am always grateful for our utility crews, Orange and Rockland. I know we were watching Channel 12 last night, the news, and they showed the Orange and Rockland crews out, and we've had Con Ed on our side of the river restoring power. But can we have a hand for those men and women who go out, repair all the damage, the unexpected and sometimes anticipated damage from these storms, because without them I don't know that I could have gotten here nearly on time today. So I'm very grateful for that. You know, and it points up to the fact that we are, you know, there's so much noise in the political arena right now. We all know, and Kyle's here. You know, Kyle's just been through an election, and a great public servant among us here. There's so much noise in a year like this for so many obvious reasons. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. I'm not going to talk on and on. I want to hear what you have to say. That's always my first goal, my first job, to take to Washington your concerns and work on solutions that work for everyone in the country and every single person I serve. We are one community, and I know there's been a lot of noise over the past couple of days about you know, trying to divide us up. It's not just the past couple of days, of course. It's over and over again in different ways. I don't think about the service that I'm endeavoring to provide to our constituents as being one group against another ever. I do hope and aim for everything I do and everything I say to provide as tangible a benefit as possible to every single person who lives in the Hudson Valley. It doesn't matter what community physically they live in. It doesn't matter what their age is. It doesn't matter their station in life, their ethnic heritage. I'm a first-generation American. My mother came here from England in 1948, as probably many of our friends here already know. But that's the miracle and the beauty of this country, uniquely in the history of the world, that we have embraced every person, the potential of every person, the gifts that all of us bring. And it's so important for people in public service to appreciate that and to look for the good that is within each of us and help to bring greater strength to that. So, as you know, we've had an interesting 112th Congress. I'm a freshman for the umpteenth time in my life. Freshman again. I don't mind that. I enjoy it. I do sit on the Financial Services Committee, which is a very important committee for New York Metro and for the Hudson Valley. And because I'm a doctor, I'm an eye surgeon, ophthalmologist, I'm also a member of the House Doctors Caucus, and I'm actually the only woman who's a physician who's a member of Congress. So, yeah, interestingly enough, that gives you a little bit of a distinctive voice. My goal when I ran for election in 2010 was to grow our economy, grow opportunity, make sure that the relationship between our federal government and our citizens has the right proportion. We need a federal government to do a number of things. It has a very wide portfolio at this point, and to do them well, and not to take so much from you who do create jobs, from you who do work very hard for what you earn, not to take so much from you that you cannot do the things here at home in Goshen, in Orange County, in our Hudson Valley, in New York City, that will broaden opportunity for all the other people in our community who need that opportunity and who benefit from it. Well, what really does that mean in terms of the job that someone like me has been trying to do for the past couple of years? Well, it's still the case. I wish we made greater strides along these lines, but it's still the case that we have a climate in the United States that is not as friendly to enterprise, not as conducive to enterprise, not as fertile for enterprise, for what all of you do in all your various ways, as it could be and as it should be. We need most definitely to provide relief from the fiscal cliff that's coming, tax-mageddon, some folks call it informally. When I've talked with men and women in business across the Hudson Valley, and I'm sure you all have, and I'm eager to hear them, you all have your own stories to recount of where burdens could be lifted, and where what you bring in through what you do could be deployed more efficiently and more effectively than if you send ever more of it to the federal government in the form of your income taxes and payroll taxes and many other taxes still to come, especially starting January 1st, 2013. So we have passed measures, obviously, through the House of Representatives to endeavor to start the process of tax reform. We do need broad-based tax reform. We need the tax code to be flatter and fairer. We have the highest tax rates on business in the world at this point. And that does damage us. It damages our economy. It does drive investment out of the United States. When we talk, and we do worry legitimately about outsourcing jobs, when we have Americans right here. We have an 8.9% unemployment rate in Orange County. I think that's the highest it's been since something like 1977, if I'm not incorrect. I know you may keep track of those figures. But it's been many, many years since it's been that high. And the greatest cause for outsourcing is actually the regulatory and tax burdens that the United States imposes now on enterprise. We can make that better, and there's broad agreement actually to make that better. I believe very strongly in working across the aisles. I've worked with Governor Cuomo on Tappan Zee Bridge reconstruction. Very important that we find common ground, and we can. In fact, I'm a co-founder of the Common Ground Caucus in the House of Representatives to bring Democrats and Republicans together as friends so that we can work together, and I do work with Democrats all the time on legislation. But there's broad agreement about tax reform. The Senate has stood in the way of most of the things we've tried to do. The relatively few bills that have been signed into law by the President have been bills that we've absolutely had to pass to keep the federal government going for the most part. But we did manage to pass a Jobs Act because the other key theme is regulatory reform, a prudent level of common sense regulation to protect people from fraud, from harm, to protect their civil rights. Those are important and those are good things. But the regulatory burdens we face now are simply too heavy in a number of areas. So we have tried to relieve some of those in passing the Jobs Act, and that was one of the achievements for both sides of the aisle. It was signed into law by the President in March. It does ease the path for small companies to get investment so that they can grow, to go public, for example. And it was a matter of looking at the current mass of regulations and trying to find a path forward so